Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So quad tank is actually a viable strategy in the game, albeit it's a very specific niche kind of thing that you can run, very situational on certain maps. We'll go over which ones in a second. Today I wanted to ask and answer the question of whether quad tanks are going to be a staple meta composition, most certainly when these Mercy changes go through. Why that has an effect, I will go over that too. But triple tanks has also come back a little bit. We actually talked about it in another video that may go out before or after this, talking about the three major compositions that are in the game currently, at least at the highest tiers, and it doesn't take long for those high tier Overwatch League players to bring those strategies into our own ranked ladder games. Doesn't matter if you're in silver, gold, whatever, these strategies may become very important, so it's worth knowing and making sure that you're educated on that kind of thing, just so you don't get caught out or maybe stay ahead of the curve in your own game. But it's the idea of having these stacked tank lineups. We want to talk about where it came from, what maps it shows up on, and go from there. Triple tanks is something that we've spoken about previously, and also very recently as well, on the likes of University, Oasis, and Control Center Lijiang for those control maps, but we have seen quad tank run on Horizon Lunar Colony quite a bit in the Overwatch League. That seems like the staple things that you kind of see, very map specific, very area specific on his control maps as well, much like Widowmaker on Ruins. When the map dictates how you want to play the game, you change the composition up, and I think that's quite a healthy way of being adaptable in this game sense. And that's why the map pool is so small in the Overwatch League as well. So you get these very specific map strategies going on, coming into play, and these teams have been fairly good at them. Otherwise, you have to learn like, what, 16 maps that's in the game currently, and it's just not tenable for a lot of these teams. But we have seen triple tank come in on the likes of Kings Row and Junkertown as well from the tier 2 scene in EU. But it's a very good tank combo for multiple reasons. It's just mostly hard to move off of a point, especially if the enemy are playing dive. We've actually tried it ourselves, me and Miska in ranked, playing quad tank on Horizon, and it's actually really effective if you have at least some decent comms in your team. And even if you don't, it's fine, because it's quite easy to run. You don't need to have the best coordination or synergy in the world. Just grab a tank, throw it on the point, be hard to kill, win. That's basically what it comes down to. But on maps like Horizon, it's strong because if the enemy is holding on the high ground, no doubt there's going to be some Horizon Lunar Colony footage in the background. If the enemy's holding onto the high ground on the defense with this anti-dive kind of composition, you just get a Lucio speed boost, rush onto the point, plant yourselves there, and the defending team have to move you off of it with as much firepower as it possibly can. You're essentially Snorlax sitting on the point lazily, and the defending team need to wake you up and shift you before you just take the point from them, and they end up in a really bad situation very quickly. So why is it being played? Well, according to Winston Lab interview with Florida Mayhem Swoosh, it's actually all Orisa's fault. He says the main weakness for Orisa is, as I said, the quad tank. You just run over Orisa and you can't really do anything. Now, we have spoken at length about how strong Orisa currently is in this meta. When you add a Junkrat and a McCree and a D.Va Roadhog with that spam, it means that heroes like Reinhardt can't do much. However, if you're running a Reinhardt with 3 other tanks and a Lucio and Moira to heal you up, you can get to those points a lot quicker, meaning that your shield doesn't get broken as much, and even if it does, the people behind you aren't going to get killed by the spam because they're big targets themselves. We have spoken about the anti-dive composition quite a lot recently. It's something that's really cool. It needs a sexier name, to be honest. Anti-dive is kind of dull, but it's a staple Orisa combo. So if you do see these compositions running, just run the quad tank and run straight into them. Orisa can't do much, and you just charge right through them. But you have the quad tank somewhat countering anti-dive, and then anti-dive obviously countering dive. You have this nice rock, paper, scissors going on with compositions at the moment, which I think is quite a healthy thing to have. It's not inherently bad that tank compositions have returned. It only gets bad when that's all teams can play, when that becomes the staple meta and anything else is almost throwing. But the risk of that is rising considering that Mercy is getting her nerfs. But why do I mention Mercy specifically? Well, Mercy isn't actually all that much involved in the lineup at the moment, at least the majority of the time. For quad tanks, teams like to run Moira and then Lucio as their supports, because obviously, as I said, you want the speed boost to get your lardy tanks onto the point in the first place, at least as quick as possible. But then also the amount of healing Moira can do on these big targets means that she'll have a coalescence very quickly, and maybe even in the first fight before anybody has any other ultimates. So what that means is if Mercy becomes less viable and less of a pick, teams might pick up the quad tank a lot more often on different maps at Horizon or the 1 points that I've mentioned before. now that the Moth has gone away. Another thing to highlight actually is a good counter hero to this lineup somewhat is obviously Junkrat. He can put out a lot of damage, but mostly he can hit these tanks and get a lot of ult charge from them, meaning that he has his Riptide quite a bit. In the background, hopefully we have some Overwatch Pit gameplay, and as you're seeing, the Junkrat on this team is getting so many ultimates by just throwing damage at these big heroes that it's becoming very difficult for this quad tank to actually push through and take the point. But Junkrat is another hero that's been nerfed soon, so this could be another avenue that opens up for quad tanks because this hero is being kind of taken back a little bit in this composition. But to answer the question, is quad tank going to become meta? I really don't think so. There's a lot more options to deal with this quad tank lineup now than there was before last year, but I do think the Blizzard will need to keep a very close eye on certain heroes and their pick rates and how these games sort of match up. Most certainly in the Overwatch League. Moira, for example, is a hero that can step up and be incredibly strong after these Mercy changes go through, but when you have the diversity of DPS heroes like Reaper, Pharah, Junkrat, and even Doomfist to take out some of these tanks, triple tank can't and won't be as meta as it was this time last year. But that's generally everything I wanted to go up in this lineup. There's a lot to talk about with how strong this composition could be, but right now I think it's in a very niche position, which I think is good. There are counters to it, there are reasons to play it, so I think that it's okay to be in the game, but I am somewhat concerned that it might become more and more popular after these Mercy nerfs go through. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, take care and see you then.